Yeah,
but I
definitely.
wonder about how many people actually out there understand like why your game is called Rubber City Poker.
Go ahead, Dan.
You want to bust that one out?
Yeah, let her rip.
Well, Akron, Ohio used to be was actually nicknamed the Rubber City capital of the world. Goodyear, Firestone, all the big rubber tire companies. Back in the day, originated from here, and it was such a huge city with those two large corporate conglomerates there that Akron's always had that whole Rubber City capital of the world name surrounded by it. So, bringing some hometown pride here.
Oh wow, hang on, we got some sickness happening.
20.
Top 2 versus bottom 2. And I want to say that Paul might have limp called the button here. Oh,
my
wow.
gosh.
Oh, I thought that for a second both players made full house, but Jesse's got a full house now.
30.
But still, Paul's going to continue to bet with ace queen. Now, Paul's got 450, so you're probably going to need to build here, I think. He made it 60, so he min raised, it looked like, on the turn.
30 and then 60.
So he does click it back.
Yeah, I just think that you got to get some more money in there if Paul's got 420 left, because now the pot's only 205. I mean, now maybe you bet like 150. Why not make it like 120 on the turn?
80
You
bucks?
see, make it like exponential. Yeah, 85. I mean, I guess he probably just thinks that the guy has an ace.
But I guess you have to like pay attention. Like he's calling so quickly. I mean, for the most part, he has more than an ace. So like,
Well, it was a really weird hand though, the way that it went down, because I'm pretty sure that Paul limped on the button, and you would never have thought. That's one of the most like overlooked streets in No Limit when you're trying to figure out what somebody has is what they do pre-flop. So, if I'm in Jesse's spot there and Paul limps on the button, I don't think he's got like ace king or ace queen usually. He might have like ace 4 or ace 5, something like that. So that might have been what Jesse was thinking about
so
there.
just thinking like this, luring him with little bits of bread, just waiting to bop him on the head. If you will.
$1,000 even.
Joe, 1,000 even. So Tony has informed me that we do have a couple more players that are going to show up here.
Cool.
Within the next hour. So right now we're sitting 7-handed. We may bump it up to like 9 before.
Yeah, if we can get a full 9, that'd be cool.
Before this night kicks in. Most of these players are used to playing 6-handed at a 2-5 game up in Cleveland. So we'll see how interesting that becomes when they're sitting 8 or 9 tonight.
Yeah, see what they're how they can adjust and all that good stuff.
By the way, so you guys see me on the picture right now. I am in my house in Los Angeles, West Hollywood, California. So the power of technology. You guys are in Akron, and I'm here in Southern California.
Pretty amazing, huh?
I wish I was in Southern California.
What do you mean? We're in the poker penthouse. Like, is there a better place to be?
I can only say that LeBron James lives 20 minutes from here.
Nice.
So we do have that going for us.
Are you guys Browns fans?
Of course.
Well, see, I'm from Boston originally, so I got a dynasty going on.
Yeah. And that's not bad.
You were selling something.
nice interception. I thought I was gonna have a
Yeah,
heart
it's
attack.
pretty crazy.
Heck of a game.
I don't know. if
Rudy
you
with threes
are
again.
agreeing right now, or where we're going with this. I don't know. Okay.
20. Call.
A lot of hands.
Agreed. There's quite a few hands.
I don't think we've had 5 to the flop at all tonight.
Rudy getting that Rodney Dangerfield action. No respect.
Check.
A couple people with like little wheel draws, deuces and threes, and Pete's got the best of it with ace 10.
He phones ahead for those flops.
Jesse's on a gutter.
Yeah, he does. He's got like a little hidden gutter to a 7. And that probably should just take it down. I mean, threes is such a
I don't know
not a
if you're
good
talking
draw on
Rudy
this
though.
board. Yeah.
It's old Rudy.
It's old Rudy.
Our
I mean,
first,
if you hit a 3, it's a 1-liner to a deuce, and a deuce is a 1-liner to a 3. So
right. Our first episode, we had for whatever reason, Team Rudy showed up in chat. People from around the world just started rooting for Rudy. So I think he knows he has a fan club out there. So I think he wants to perform for him at the minimum.
cool. Now, if I'm Pete here, I'm thinking because Rudy closed the flop action, he is a lot wider than if I had bet and he called to my immediate left where I'd actually be concerned with ace-10. I'm happy to continue to bet. Remember, he closed the flop action, so he's going to be a lot wider than if he was right to Pete's left and then 4 people were behind him. He's not calling with 3s in that spot. But here, he can close very wide with a 5, with a 4, with a 3. You see he continued to call the turn. River now is a 6, and I think what's going through Pete's mind is, well, he checks it back. I mean, you beat ace-7, ace-8, ace-9. I think he's a little bit concerned that a hand like a 5 or a 4, they're not going to call the river. And all you're really going to get value from is like ace-7, ace-8, ace-9. You lose to a lot of other things. Ace-2, well, you beat ace-deuce and ace-3 too, but... I don't mind the check back there. I think it's probably pretty close.
Is it like a situation where you would check back sometimes and check back others? Like, how would you determine exactly what you want to do in that spot?
Well, actually, the more I think of it, though, it's really because he called the turn. He might actually be a little bit ace heavy. I mean, I think it's a player dependent situation. The board ended up being what, ace 4, 5, 6. So you beat ace deuce and ace 3 and ace 7, ace 8, and ace 9. I wouldn't have thought that he would have called the turn,
Right.
with like 3s or like a 5.
Yeah, it was kind of weird spot.
So-
Rudy did open under the gun, so I guess there are quite a few aces in his range. So, but why would he check flop
I never addressed my cards until
and then just call behind?
I think he might have been in the big blind though.
I think
That-
I actually think he was under gun. I think under gun with 3s and he made it 15.
Okay. Yeah, so he check called. That's interesting then too, because maybe he's got, if he's under the gun there and he check calls, maybe he's got a hand like kings or queens and he's just getting stubborn with it,
As per usual, Pete sits on top of the chip list there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He finds it comfortable on top.
I can't concede that we're just flat in the river.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that. You see how that changes the entire dynamic of the hand, whether he was in the blind or whether he was under the gun in terms of his hand range.
Yeah.
If he's under the gun there, I bet all day long on the river. Because I think he's got he can easily have a pair between a 5 and ace and still call the turn. If he's in the blind, still probably a bet though when he calls the turn.
20.
Just a raise and take it for Carl. Carl's working backwards. He's getting all the action with his middling hands and no action with his big ones.
I just haven't noticed that I play tournaments ever.
What are what's the structures like where you guys play in Ohio in terms of like these games, like in the casinos? Like what are the buy-in structures?
Actually, I heard they just dropped them. The 2-5 game was a 2K cap.
Wow.
Yeah.
2K. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, very surprising.
But they just changed them
They
last
just
week.
dropped them back down to 500, which is what they started at.
They dropped them from 2K to 500. That's a
Yeah.
big change.
Well, and that's what they originally started with. And the 1-2 game was like a 50 min, 200 max, and then they moved it to a 300 max. And just last week they moved the 1-2 game to 100 min, 200 max, and they adjusted the 2-5 game to
It is
I think
2 days
it's
before, huh? Or no, it's
capped at
Sunday.
5 now.
Yeah.
But I think it's like min 2,
I think it's
max
probably
5.
2 to 5.
No, I'm leaving.
There's the Ohio Gaming Commission, and they're kind of wacky. Like they control every single thing about the casino. They can't even run a tournament without getting approved through the Ohio Gaming Commission. So
I'll be out there for that.
very well policed.
It's a re-entry.
Looks like a raise and a 3-bet. Well, I mean that's interesting that you say that, but the reason why I brought it up was because people don't quite realize. They say that LA is the mega capital of poker, and it is, but when you play small stakes live no limit, the structures are horrendous. Like even over the just even maybe it's only been like 2 or 3 years where a couple of the casinos even offer like a 1-3-300 cap game. Usually a 2-3 game was $100 cap. A 2-5 game was a $200 cap.
Wow.
And a 1-2 game is a $40 cap. They finally have 5-5 500 cap at the Commerce, and then 5-5 300 to 1,000 at a couple of other places. But those games are really relatively new in the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, LA Casinos is all about the low stakes, no limit games being extremely capped. And of course, the problem is that it's a flat drop, which is a lot of people aren't accustomed to from around the country, where they take the entire amount, no matter how small the pot is, if there's any flop.
That's nuts.
How do you go into a 2-5 game with 200?
I don't know.
That's just crazy.
Put your gambling pants on, I guess.
It's like Joe's gonna hit top pair here, and Rudy's gonna hit mid. And we get a check.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that from Joe. I think he was the pre-flop raiser. He looks like he's out of position, so I'm pretty sure he opened for a raise. I don't know why. Rudy checks it behind. I mean, Rudy checks behind and then calls the turn. He does get some value, but I think he would have gotten one straight. I'm just all about value in games like this.
$75.
I was trying to think just now in my head, I was like, what's the magic? Oh, I guess 75 might not have been the magic number. Looks like he could have got a little bit more as fast as Rudy called.
And you know what, guys? I mean, it might be a little bit of my inexperience with kind of, I'm not saying you're a particular regional play, but just like maybe the way that people play, in Ohio, in the Midwest, or just, guys on this particular table. I wouldn't have thought that if I check King Queen on that flop, that I'm going to get Ace 10 to call the river after I bet the turn, but who knows?
Yeah.
He did.
We're all learning things today.
Yeah.
We have like really bad air here in Ohio.
Is that what it is?
Well, I drove cross country with my
Were you
parents
talking-
when I was 12 years old, and I remember the smell. Actually, it smelled like rubber.
It smelled like burning rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rubber industry, basically built a city. If it wasn't for all those companies,
20 now.
Akron would probably still be a field somewhere. We do have one regular player that usually plays in our games. His name's Rick, aka Maverick. I'm sure he's out watching somewhere, really bummed out he couldn't be on the table tonight.
Yeah, he had to go out of town this week.
Actually, I think he's closer to you than he is with us. I think he's out in San Diego right now.
See, now this is a spot where I'm trying not to be biased because I can see the cards, but if I'm Pete, I'm not going to c-bet that flop if I ISO'd with the ace-5. I couldn't tell if Rudy raised and Pete flatted or if Pete was the raiser. But if Pete was the raiser, I probably would not bet that flop against this particular player. Looked like Pete, he picked up a heart draw on the turn, he checked it back, and then Rudy makes a bet out there with a 9, which is kind of interesting. Well, the came running 4, so it's a second full house.
Right. I feel like it maybe went limp, raise, everyone else folded, and then I think Rudy called behind after
Right. Right, and that makes a whole lot of sense. But I'm just saying that you don't always have to fire when you're the pre-flop raiser in the form of Pete. Rudy's been kind of showing he kind of call happy. You know what I mean? Queen 9-4. I just, you're either going to have the best hand with ace high there or the guy's not folding.
Right.
Any piece.
Carl with an ace king. Let's see if he happens to get any callers this time around. His big hands have been folded to. Raises at the 15.
We really thank all of our new followers tonight. We appreciate it a ton. We look forward to seeing you guys in the upcoming Tuesday nights. We will be here every Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time.
We normally give shout outs to everybody, but
There's
Bart,
a lot of people there tonight.
There's a lot of people, and Bart, you're just so engaging in conversation tonight that it's like, man, I could just listen.
Oh,
to you
don't
talk
blame it on
forever.
me. Come on.
I gotta blame somebody. Trevor gets mad when I blame him. Yeah, we do appreciate all the new followers we had tonight.
That was professional right there.
I gotta tell you again, I'm gonna plug your show. If anybody likes PLO, You got to go back and watch that game that you guys on your YouTube channel. If you just search Poker on Air, I think it was from 2 weeks ago. Was it 2-5 or 1-2 PLO? But
It was a
obviously
it was a
plays
1-2
big.
game that played massive.
It was a
plays
1-2
really
fight
big.
bring in though.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was 1-2-5. I mean, that's in essence 2-5. It's big.
We plan on doing another one here in a couple weeks. I think it's
That'd
in
be
our
great,
schedule.
yeah.
So, look forward to that. Check it out. We've been asking the chat room what kind of games, what kind of stakes that they want to see. And so we're trying to offer everything that they want.
Look at this flop here for Carl. 8-9 with the 8 of hearts.
The heavy straight flush on the show. So bring it in, Carl.
Check.
Yeah, at this point, Pete's going to check it back. I don't really... I do see this a lot. I do... It doesn't really surprise me. I've seen a lot of people check hands that I wouldn't check, and that could be, I'm just going to guess and surmise, I might be totally wrong, that maybe some players in this game don't necessarily play this deep or that high all that often, and they might be in kind of like a little bit of a pot control game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things when you move up in poker that you got to realize is that people don't really bluff enough for you to lose value to pot control. Occasionally you might be up against a maniac where you want to get to showdown, but a general plan of betting and evaluating to a raise and a lot of times folding if you get raised is a much better plan than, say, what Pete did just there on the turn, which was just check back when he hit the ace.
Mm-hmm. Joe with a couple of deuces again.
Heads up.
Seemed interesting that Jesse would check twice here.
Yeah, I mean, you could go either way with it. I mean, he's given up all kinds of free cards. He has a little bit of showdown value. I thought that he was actually going to play what I like to call like a delayed c-bet, where you can sometimes not bet the flop, check it back, and then see what your opponent does. If your opponent bets the turn on a board that kind of hits you pretty squarely, you just fold. But once he checks that turn, especially on a 3, then I'm just going to be like, all right, I'm betting here. I think and it can be a combination of protection and a bluff, because I don't think that seat number 3 there can call with like pocket 5s, even if it went check on the flop,
There's old Pete
look
again.
at Pete.
20 now.
MUA Stream, thanks for being a follower. Postman Patton, thanks for being a follower.
It's a PMP.
VA Poker Geek. I love the names. I will give you the hard ones.
You're doing so well, though.
MIA Boy 15.
They're just going to follow you on purpose to make you talk about them nonstop.
I just hate when they come in with those crazy names. And then remember the guy that got me to curse
Yes, that was
a few weeks
hysterical.
back?
I think one of the other interesting things about your broadcast here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you guys start this as kind of like whatever branded as Chase the Bracelet, where you guys, it was almost like a poker league that you guys just decided to basically televise yourselves?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring that back on Thursdays on Twitch this summer.
Oh, cool.
We're going to have like a 13-week sit and go where they earn points based upon their placing. And we're going to give away as a prize a seat in a tournament in the 2016 WSOP. One of the buy-ins out there.
How it kind of started, that was our initial plan, and we are kind of ramping up to do that this season. But as you've seen from our past broadcasts, before we started doing on Twitch and everything, our quality just wasn't up to snuff, and now we're kind of getting to that point where we are pretty proud of the product we're putting out there. So we're like, oh, let's just run some cash games up until Chase the Bracelet starts. So that's kind of how we started all this.
So I'm actually looking at my Twitter on my phone here too, at Bart Hanson and at Crushlight Poker. Again, a lot of people have asked. I'll get to this in a second here. Looks like Carl's got a hand.
500 blinds deep.
Carl just gets Ace King, I'm pretty sure. I think it's the only hand he really has been dealt.
I think Paul's gonna jump in this pot though.
I might not show up till like 4 o'clock. It's probably not a bad idea. I mean, I guess there is a point. There's going to be some absolute just.
All the people that just won all their cases.
That are free. There's going to be like massive gifts. People are just going to be putting in like 300 blinds with like one pair.
Right.
I mean, it is worthwhile. It's worthwhile to be there. But
You want to waste so much turn equity early with like microsection stacks.
Carl's
and putting in
top
300
pair
blinds
bets
with
out
one
30.
pair.
Golf ball does have a gutter here.
It will make for some interesting play.
I mean, honestly, like when you're playing 2-5 and you're only 200 deep to start the hand, it's
They're just going to go to the solid
real
player.
tough for you even to call with King Queen. $15, $20 per. It probably should be a 3-bet or a fold.
Yeah.
And now at this point, like this is what I'm talking about. I hope Carl bets this turn, and he will. Okay, but I've definitely seen a lot of guys like check it because they're kind of scared, just because, maybe for whatever reason. But there's just so much you can get called by.
Main event went from 10 to 30 and still lost him at the same pace.
I'm trying to think of. I mean, we know Paul pretty well. He's actually one of our crew members here.
It's pretty hard to bust.
And he's
the first day too.
beyond conservative. So the fact that he's even thinking about this,
Dealt it 3 years.
I understand if you
Yeah,
don't bet, you're
so
not
you
making
just
half,
kinda-
but, like,
I'm actually surprised he called that flop.
just to
honestly, I think it's just a culmination of
lose it.
Frustration, maybe.
frustration, and other times he's been on the show, he's made some bad laydowns and hasn't been super happy with how he's played. So I think he just wants to have a book a winning session on the stream for once. I think that's all
Yeah.
just feeding in.
I mean, inevitably, here's the issue with calling with King Queen off on Ace 10 9 with a 2-spade board, right? I mean, if the guy's got an ace, you're peeling for a gutter, and the clean gutter is an offsuit jack, so it's only 3 outs, right? There's maybe like 45 unseen cards in the deck, which means that you have about a 1 in 15 chance of hitting. So you would need to make like 14 times whatever the bet size that the dude in the Mets hat made, and he's nowhere near deep enough to make. The guy that's 30, 35, you got to be like $600-$700 deep and think you're gonna get paid off to get
Right.
called.
I think my biggest challenge at the poker table is just overcoming that boredom, that phase where you're just folding, and not really playing, and that boredom sets in, and then you play some King Deuce offsuit or something, and then get yourself in trouble.
Isn't that what Candy Crush is for?
Candy Crush.
Yeah.
I don't know some of those.
He has some action
That's
here.
my problem. That's why I'm a terrible poker player.
Yeah, I think that's actually a hindrance to a lot of people, to be honest with you. Like a lot of mobile games, you'd be surprised at how many people I see just not paying attention to anything around them.
What did I hear about that change?
So Carl opened, Rudy just flatted with Ace King, is that right? And
No,
then Carl.
No.
Carl made a 15, Rudy 3-bet to 40, and then Carl called behind.
No game today.
Okay.
So I don't know how,
And now it looks like Carl. Okay, I thought for a second Carl led because just the graphics, but he checked, and now I guess he's pondering a check raise here.
they want to be able to buy in for 100. I mean, like, just in general, a lot of people. I mean, like,
Well, then you have people like
There's the back of Paul's head.
people like that.
He told me he's getting a haircut today. I don't think he.
John Boyer.
No,
Came
you
through on
followed
that.
through on it.
The people that are
From what I see, from what I've seen from Rudy, I think all the money's gonna go in here for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rudy's not going to give up an Ace King.
No, Carl picks up some outs. Nope.
And
Does not get
bricks off on the river.
Yeah. And and again, it's a. I always talk about it too. Even in a game like this, that might be high stakes for some people. Yeah, it's value, but it's 75-80% pre-flop mistakes as well. When you guys just do the 1-2 game, it's even more pre-flop mistakes. And right there, unfortunately for, I want to say that was Chris, right? Carl, excuse me. Unfortunately for Carl, you can't open 8-9 suited and call a 3-bet from out of position because that's about as good as it's going to get for you when you flop a combo draw. There's no fold equity with this stack sizes being from out of position, and that's it. He gets it in a little bit bad, and that's as good as it's going to get.
Right.
Well, Bart, I'm going to step out of the commentator booth here. I'm going to leave you with Trevor, and Paul's going to
Okay.
step in for me. But I just want to say, if I don't speak to you in person anymore today, it's been an honor and a privilege to hang out with you tonight. And thanks for hanging out with Poker on Air and us tonight.
Appreciate it. Are you coming to the World Series at all this summertime?
That's all up for debate right at the moment.
Okay.
Is whether I'm going to make it out there. But if I do, I'll definitely stop by and say
Stop
hey.
by the Crush Light Poker booth, and I'll be around. I'm playing in like $140,000 worth of tournaments, so hopefully I'll be in the news a little bit.
All right, sir. Thanks again, and I will talk to you soon.
Bye, Dan.
I'm not an advocate of the change, but it's like the game's fun. They've been alright, to be honest with you.
I'm trying to figure if we have someone else waiting in the wings to fill Carl's seat, or if Carl's coming back. I wouldn't imagine Carl came one bullet, but we will see.
The buy-in for the 4th time in 2-5 hold'em at the 2. Back to 500.
And the 1-2 is down to
100, 200.
Trevor, when I had a downswing in 510 about 10 months ago, or I hadn't been playing a ton because I was doing Crush Light Poker and I had some private clients, one of the things that I did to come back to actually sharpen my game was I did not take my phone with me to the table. I left it in my car. And then what I would do is I would walk out like every couple hours just to make sure there weren't any emergencies.
Right.
And you would be amazed at how much that helped my game, not being distracted by all that electronic stuff.
So
we were talking Candy Crush before.
Right. So do you ever bring a notepad, or is it just all mental that you take notes on people?
Well, I mean, that's actually the problem is I'm taking notes for my podcast. Like I bring my phone in to use the notepad to write hands down for the most part. But if I didn't do that, there would be no need of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny that people tell me about, being bored at the table. I mean, there's so many things to look for, to pick up on that can obviously make you a ton of money down the road. So I am always kind of surprised when people talk about being bored at the table.
Looks like Pete continuation bet into many, many people here. It's not a terrible texture. It's just there were a lot of people in that hand to bluff at. And Paul just makes a flush and he just leads at it on the turn here.
Oh, poor Paul.
And again, it's the same thing. I mean, I'm not going to discriminate. Paul is not deep enough to call a single raise with 7-8 suited there.
Right.
Pre-flop. I mean, that's one of the easiest leaks that you can fix is if you teach somebody the hands to play pre-flop with the stack sizes.
Carl's back.
Looks like we're getting the chip tracker loaded back up so we know how much everybody has here. Yeah, I would have been really surprised if Carl was just gone for the night. What's up, Sarko? Thanks for the follow.
The only thing.
How's everybody doing in chat tonight? Having a good time?
It's just one big
It's nice to see all of you. New faces, old faces. I guess screen names, that makes a little bit more sense, but.
Did you guys Twitch out the whole season so far, or did you start with episode 3? I know that this is the 7th episode, right?
We started on Twitch, and it was kind of like an afterthought. We're like, oh, let's just stream on Twitch because we're gonna do it on our own site that we built and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just like, oh, let's give Twitch a try, and it's just grown every week, and it's been pretty amazing.
Raise to 30.
I mean, I think all the poker stuff on Twitch right now is just super exciting the way the direction it's going.
Well, right, and there aren't really many poker shows really on either. So I mean, it's a lot of guys playing online poker. This is definitely something different,
Right. That's what we definitely strive for, to be a little different, to be the one that sticks out. Are you back?
Yeah, not sure how or why, but I'm back.
Okay, well,
Oh, welcome back.
yeah.
I never thought I'd
Thought I
get
was
to
gonna
talk
see
to
you in
Bart
Vegas.
again in my life, and here I do. Twice in one night.
People are talking about pepperoni pizza in the chat. And wish I had one.
40.
Carl reloaded.
Yes.
Yeah, this hand was a little bit difficult for me to follow. I thought it was 3-bet in some way, but it seems odd that I don't know if Jesse called 3-bets cold there with King 4 of diamonds.
Yeah, I kind of lost the action as well, but it must have been bumped up a fair amount for it to be at 177 already.
I think maybe your friend there got a seat 2, raised it, and then it went maybe 3-bet flat, call, or 3-bet from the button with 9s. But Jesse's got the best hand, obviously, as you can see with King 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl's in the small blind, okay. A little different, yeah, I see.
Oh, that's right. He bought the button. That's what it was.
Oh,
he came in,
okay.
he bought the button. That makes more
Oh.
sense.
So you know what I bet it was? It was probably Paul that opened out of seat 3, Jesse 3-bet, Carl flatted. And
then Paul flats behind.
yeah, it's a little bit difficult to tell, but anyways.
Love to see all of our Twitch chatters mingling together. Maybe they'll start up their own 2-5 game somewhere in the world.
I think I'd love to have like a whole game just from our Twitch viewers.
A Twitch tournament?
If we could just get like 10 guys.
Let's just run out the queue, put some tables down, have our own Rubber City Poker tournament.
We've had so many people just say, "Hey, can I play? Can I play?" We're like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh, here we go. Looks like we got a new guy coming in here.
His name is Brad.
All right.
He played
Looks like
in our.
is he a golfer?
He must, or just doesn't like the way his hair looks today. He played in our Halloween game as a blind referee, so we usually call him Blind Ref.
8:31.
He actually played. I think it's our first broadcast, and he actually mucked the winning hand. He actually rivered a straight. He barreled all 3 streets, thinking he was just bluffing. Didn't look back at his hand. Forgot that he actually had I think an 8 or something that made a 4-card straight, and folded. And we went out and told him live on air. And he hasn't been back since, so I'm glad he's gotten over it, and now he's back at the table.
I'm pretty sure he appreciates you bringing that up once again.
Yeah, he's got thicker skin now.
So Carl made kind of a float here, called with the Jack 10, got shot to a queen. Jesse bet the flop. Now he's gonna bet the turn again, and I like that turn bet by Jesse with Ace 5. A lot of guys will get scared again. They'll check, but why not? There's a bunch of draws out there. You know, King Queen, King 10, Jack 10, Queen 10.
90's the best.
Wow. Huh. Seen a couple of turn raises as semi-bluffs. And Jesse just calls instantly, really, with Ace 5. We saw Rudy do that with King Queen, one of the first hands of the night, against Jesse, too.
Check.
Yeah, see, I don't... That line's very inconsistent for me, I think, if I'm Carl. I mean, if you raise the turn there and the guy calls, you don't have the showdown value to check it back at the end. And because you paired your jack on the turn, you don't need to raise the turn if you think the guy's bluffing. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It would be different if you flopped like a 4 or 5 of clubs and you had no showdown value. And you're like, all right, I'm going to raise the turn here. But with a jack, you got a pair of jacks. So the whole line doesn't make a whole lot of linear, consistent sense to me.
And Jesse was in agreement with your thoughts. That's probably why he practically beat Carl into the pot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if Carl had pushed in at the end, I don't know if Jesse's calling, but
True.
$15.
Did Paul add on a smidge? guess I'm at 206 right now. I know he won a pot big enough to vault
Yeah.
him up 100. Cause he was like right at like 99 not too long ago.
4 players.
Well, if you're gonna raise with 9-10 of clubs from UTG +1, you're gonna.
Pretty much
That's
all you
about
can
as
really
good as
ask
it
for.
gets.
It's a pretty great
Yeah.
flop.
And again, I'll just go back to the fact and say, like, I'm not gonna be obviously too hard on the guy. Most people, play for recreation, but it's just tough to, have a $200 stack and have that be a profitable pre-flop play, opening to 15 from under the gun with 9-10 of clubs.
Well, I think Paul, knowing him, he's gonna be thrilled to know you're analyzing his play just for future
Okay.
reference. Like, I mean, it's only gonna make him better. I mean,
Yeah.
if you just keep blowing smoke up people's butt, then they're not gonna get any
Yeah.
better, and then they're gonna be, miserable all the time. So I think telling him what he's doing incorrectly is just gonna be beneficial to him. Which is why you do what you do at Crush Live Poker.
And he's
Who
totally.
wants to be a loser?
And Paul's totally gonna tweet you all the time and tell you how wrong you were.
Well, I told Tony that I was gonna, give you guys some free accounts and stuff too for some of the people that want them that are playing on the show and associated with the show. So,
Oh, I appreciate
hopefully
that.
he'll be able to look at some of the videos.
Definitely.
I could go.
I think we need to have we should have some kind of contest with the chat room.
Yeah.
I think so.
What do you got in mind?
I don't know. I had the idea. There was just nothing
Just kinda
behind it.
Threw it out there.
You know me. It's a rubber smelling error here.
That's
Akron.
it. Definitely.
You guys have the Football Hall of Fame around there though somewhere too, right?
Yeah, right there in Canton. So about another 15 miles south or so.
Yeah. See, Bart, you can come see the Football Hall of Fame. Come play at our table.
3 players.
I might be actually out in Rochester, New York, in August. So after the series, so I think that's not too far from you guys, right? 4 or 5 hours.
Something like that.
So we get the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
Oh, that's right.
We got plenty of stuff.
Talk
Well,
to
okay, that's about it. Just those 2 things.
rubber, footballs, and rock and roll.
What's the name of where the Indians play too? I definitely haven't been
Progressive
there.
Field.
Progressive Field.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're playing there tonight.
So did Jesse just barrel twice there? I kind of missed what was happening. Or did he check flop, bet turn? I didn't see exactly what was going on.
You won the hand.
Yeah, that's about all we got.
Hockey Poker says, why are you going to Rochester? Well, I have a friend that lives Jacobs Field. That's what I was thinking. Someone else
Yes.
said that. I was
Yeah,
thinking
that was the
Progressive.
old
I think
name.
Jacobs-
Formerly up to Jake, yeah.
Yeah, used to be
Oh,
Jacobs
so they just
Field.
changed the name or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. To like a corporate sponsor.
yeah. They officially sold their soul. But, I mean, who hasn't at this rate?
Didn't you guys have like Municipal Stadium before that or something?
That was
like
the
that?
old Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Oh God, I can't.
And the
even
old
imagine.
Indians
Yeah,
Stadium.
the Browns and Indians both
Browns
played
and
there.
Indians used to play there.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a Crush Live Poker logo, and we just want to thank Bart. He's found poker on
Oh,
air.
look at that. That's great.
He's found poker on air, and has reached out to us and said, "Hey, I really like what you guys are doing and what you're doing for poker." And working some things together with him behind the scenes, and it's just been awesome to meet him. And
4 players.
he's such a professional guy and very knowledgeable in poker. So head on out to Crush Live Poker and check out his site if you don't know Bart Hanson, which I'm sure everyone in the chat room already does. But if you don't, Crush Live Poker.
If you
Check 'em
don't,
out.
if you don't know, I feel bad for you.
Thanks, guys. Looks like Paul finally has got the best hand.
He's slowly getting back.
No.
Baby steps to the top.
Good for Paul.
There she is.
Oh, that was a funny shot. you leaning back into your seat from my lap. I don't know.
I don't control the cameras.
That's not what
Yeah,
we
you guys
do.
probably don't have any warning when they come back. There,
No,
huh?
we
They don't tell
don't.
you. They don't tell you when they're coming back.
In fact, my friend here to my left was running the cameras on Sunday, and he thought it was really funny to surprise me at any moment he desired.
It was a game to see the most awkward moments I could bring them back on.
Yeah. I feel like I held my own.
What's her friends for?
It's like Chris has got top pair here, and I'm pretty sure he was the pre-flop raiser.
Yeah, I
So
think-
probably should just go bet full, and
Right.
it does.
I'd like to welcome Chris back to the table. He won a hand early on, and we haven't really seen much of him since.
Yeah, he stacked up real early. He's been kind of quiet.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, he had that spot where he hit the king jack versus it turned out to be a set of eights, and I always wonder, like, when those big pots happen, like how, like, when people get kind of gun shy after the fact, and they just kind of like shrink up into their chair for. At this point, it was almost, I mean, at least an hour ago. I just wonder, like, there's like a certain like time frame before it kind of wears off and you kind of get back into the game.
I talk about image being a really, really important thing to pay attention to in live poker, and I think that for a lot of people, it's actually proper to almost go into even like a Phil Hellmuth-esque weak, tight shell when you're losing, because a lot of people just pay attention to the people that are winning and losing. So if you're losing, people think that you're running bad and that you're bluffing all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just better to just play really good hands and value bet them. Whereas if you're winning, especially in a capped game, and if you built a stack up, you can really, really do something. People are just scared of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like actually playing in a capped game in LA as opposed to an uncapped game at 510, because let's get back into here. We got
We do.
ace, king, and
Big hand.
queens.
So we're losing Paul, but that's okay. Yeah, great. Great.
Now this is going to be fun because these guys are deep. Oh, it looks like Joe. Excuse me. It looks like Joe just called right out of seat 4.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he opened up.
So Brad opened to 15, call by Pete, raised by Jesse,
Right.
flat by Joe.
Yep. So it's a 3-bet pot. I mean, I know that Pete's got position on these guys. It's just difficult to play, I think, ace little suited in a 3-bet pot. The chances that you're dominated. I mean, you can
Oh,
obviously
God.
flop
Jeez.
later on. Of course, you can flop the stone cold nuts basically too, and that's nice.
That's how
As you
Pete
can see,
runs.
though, he's not really going to get any action. I mean, Joe's got an overpair without a spade, so he'll probably get a little bit, but I just talked about that too. Like, if I'm Joe there, I'm betting the flop. Not only do you get called by worse, and it's also protection, a little bit of protection, but is Joe just gonna basically play a guessing game here and just check call, play a check call game of on all 3 streets here?
Right. So.
And if he is, he's gonna, be in a world of hurt if it comes blank blank.
So once Jesse kind of relinquishes the lead in a hand, this seems like a more makes more sense for Joe to bet flop there instead of a check call.
I think so.
Plus his hand is super disguised too.
That's a really bad card for Pete right there. Because if Joe is like playing like some sort of pot control game with an overpair, now Joe doesn't beat the nut flush draw either on the turn.
Yeah, and Joe knows Pete is betting almost all ace of spades when it's been checked to him on the flop.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too that people don't really take into account is like how many offsuit aces does somebody have when they call 3-bets? Now, he was in position, but if he's not the type that's Joe just releases. Like, if he's not the type that's calling ace 10 or ace jack off for 3-bets, then the only really offsuit ace hands that he have is ace king and ace queen.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like an ace of spades that doesn't have another spade in it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I just think that it's pretty optimistic for Pete to call there. I know it was small sizing pre. I guess it was only 30 more. Maybe he feels like he's got control over the guys with position. That's like, again, one of those things where maybe if I'm winning and I'm running over the table, I make that call pre. If I'm losing, I don't.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not a superstition thing. It's an image of the way that other people are looking at me.
Is that an exposed card?
Diamond. Or burn card.
Yeah, it looks like.
It's either king or queen of diamonds. I heard that.
Hang on 1 second. Yeah.
See this circle right here? You have to put your cards over it. So it
Okay, move it.
You have to move your chips off of that circle.
It's like an RFID.
By the way, if you guys see me like typing stuff down below, I'm logging all of these hands.
Oh, super.
One episode, I can use some of them on Crush Live Poker because there's been a lot of nice ones.
Awesome.
Logging all the good hands.
Right.
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, guys. If you guys are new to Bart Hanson style, just YouTube him. Find one of his old Crush Live Poker videos, and I mean, watching him break down a hand, it's amazing. I think the one I watched last night was about an hour long. I think we got through maybe 5 hands. I think something like that. Just the depth that he goes through will just.
Was it a video that I did, or is it with one of my coaches?
It was one you did. I think it was maybe a couple years old or so. It was a game you were playing in.
Yeah, that would have been a couple years ago.
Yeah, where you had the aces like back-to-back hands. And you were talking about how to approach that.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is interesting. I mean, you don't see this every day at 2-5. You get what looks to be a 3-bet from the cutoff with 8s. I'm not saying that it's necessarily good or bad. It's just I usually will see people call 200 BBs deep as opposed to 3-bet them. And then, Brad didn't start that deep, so he's actually just going to 4-bet, it looks like, and he's just going to take it down.
So we play against Brad in our little Akron Poker League. We play every other Monday here. And he's actually a pain in the butt to play against because he is so methodical. And he actually does a good job of disguising. He doesn't really give off too many live tells. But he's one of those dudes who just always seems to find one better. It just drives me insane.
You mean because he plays too slow, you mean? Or?
No, it's not that he plays slow. He's just methodical. But, he does it in a great way. He does every hand identical. So he actually plays correctly. But, I'm used to playing with players that aren't all that great. And they give me so much information, and he doesn't do it. So it's a little bit of a bummer on my end.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But super nice guy, so we're glad to have him on the table.
That's why we slash his tires on Mondays.
Yeah. That's why we exposed him that he folded the best hand. Revenge.
Again, you bring it up.
This might be the first limp pot that we've seen here tonight.
I think it is.
Something I'm beyond thankful for. We see a lot of it with our 1-2 game.
There's an art, though, in playing limp pots, too, especially if you guys have that structure of having a $500 buy-in. I mean, there's definitely some play. If people have $400 or $500 in a 1-2 game, you've got some depth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that play there by Carl. That almost seems to me like he was just like, well, I want to end it. I don't want to be up against an aggressive player from out of position. Mm-hmm. I think he check raised with King 7 on King Queen 3 there, it looked like. He's not all that deep. Maybe he was just happy to end it.
So I'm guessing he must have reloaded for 300. Does that seem right?
Oh, okay.
Or no, he lost that big pot when he
did. I think he brought
when he ran that bluff with that Jack 10. That's what it was, or that semi bluff in a way.
Well, you look at this. Brad's got pocket kings here.
Good time for pocket kings. I mean, he kind of looks like a little bit of like a aggro maniac. Sits down at the table. He's already 4-betting people.
Because of the small raise sizing, though, you're actually seeing people playing more hands. As you see Carl call here, with the ace-6 suited. Top pair versus an over pair.
Determines the 5.
I think this is really important to kind of understand your player pool and to pay attention to the people that you play with commonly to see what types of boards they'll bet when they don't have something. Like, would this guy bet ace queen here on a wet board like this? Would he bet out into 3 people on 6, 7, 8 with no pair?
Mhm.
If he wouldn't and he bets, then it means that he has something. It's very simple.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely will draw a line in the sand pretty quick.
You know, again, is he the type that's going to double barrel a jack when he doesn't have something? Now, there are 2 flush draws out there. You know, he could have hearts, he could have clubs with 2 high cards in his hand. I like the sizing, though. He's not blowing him out of the water. I really do. He's trying to get called by worse. He doesn't want to blow a 6 or a 5 out of there. Now, this is really where the men get separated from the boys at this level. There are a lot of guys that just are not going to bet. Yeah, he checked it. See, there's just a lot of guys that are not going to bet 1 pair there at the end, and that's really, really where you increase your win rate.
Yeah. He checked so fast before you could really kind of finish your thought there, but I was like, I wonder if he's gonna bet a 3rd time or if we'll go check. And what do you think there's like a percentage of how often that happens in these lower stakes where people are checking too often?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but especially in position. Out of position, you'll see guys put in small bets that are almost like blocker bets because they don't want to face a large bet. But I call them quote unquote showdown monkeys. I talk about how people are showdown monkeys when they're in position, meaning that like they have a leak. A lot of recreational players in this level have a leak where when they're not capable of folding. Okay, they're not capable of folding a hand. So the way that they kind of patch that leak, and it's a Scotch tape kind of patch, is that at the end, if they're last on the river, they just don't bet because they'll never have to be faced with ever getting raised if they don't bet.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, the interesting part of that, which is so crazy, which I talk about in my training material, is that it's so few and far between that anybody ever check raises the river as a bluff that betting on the river for value is almost a free roll because if you get check raised, you're so seldom good. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to worry that the guy's bluffing.
Makes very good sense. So all you watching out there, look at all this free training we're giving you. This is wild.
Guys, I'm going to just grab some water here in my kitchen. I'll be back in a second, okay?
All right.
Sounds good.
Now you can start.
See the water's right good.
Remember what we got?
Thank you.
Oh no. You want to find the one?
Let's let everybody know that this hand is brought to you by PokerFitness.tv. If you are looking to learn some great yoga moves that can teach you how to stay a little more sharp at the table, prevent those sore backs, those sore necks, all those kinds of things, visit PokerFitness.tv. You also get your poker or your yoga gear there at all by Gaiam. So head on over there. It's a great place to learn some things that will definitely improve your mindset and your body for your long sessions at the table. What's up, Pocky? How you like that? Welcome back, my main man. Svensky43, thank you for the follow. Suggest you can make it 20 here. Under gun +1. MRS, thank you for the follow.
In between us, turn in the beer. Fold. Not even getting short before I left. I only had like 300 or something. Heads up. Okay.
So Brad just flats out of position. The 9s.
I was tired. It was like 2. And I was
Very good start for Brad.
You're the button, right?
Brad checks as you would expect.
25. And a call. Right.
Jesse goes 25. Brad
25
just
call.
calls.
No.
Some pain would be a 2.
Check.
Brett still checks.
I see Jesse checking his back fairly often.
Yep. I think Brad's gonna place a bet out here now. $50. See if my read's good on him. Nope.
I think you just put some ones out there.
Well, I mean, if you were trying to invent a draw that the guy missed, you don't beat anything because Jack 10 comes in. And if he was turning 6-7 or 10-7 into a bluff, they beat you too. So you cannot call.
So Brad's up a little bit. Rudy's up. All right.
Do you know Zach? I see
Zach-
he's a new player. I don't know.
I
Zach.
do not know Zach. He's new to the game. I don't think he's the one that 3-bet the 8s.
Is that the good dude in seat 2, right?
Yeah, he just put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just put down C2 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've played with him before. I don't even recognize
Yeah, I don't even
his
recognize
face
him at all.
whatsoever.
How long have they played No Limit for in Ohio? It hasn't been 5 years, right?
No, I think we're on year 3 or 4.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
casino-wise.
Yeah, people have been playing in their homes.
We've been
since
playing in
forever.
homes forever.
Right.
Jesse.
Are we coming up on our
2012. Casino opened 2012.
third year anniversary here? Right around
There's-
now, right?
There's casinos in Cincinnati too, right? In
Yeah.
Columbus as well.
Cincinnati, Columbus, Toledo, and
In
Cleveland
Cleveland.
are all the table games type casinos. We have a couple racinos and other things popping up, but
So what's a better place to live, Akron or Toledo?
you kind of cut out there. What was that again?
Ask the
Oh,
question.
I said,
again.
what's a better place to live, Akron or Toledo?
Dude, Toledo's kind of gross.
Yeah.
And plus, it's really close to Michigan.
Ugh.
At least like Akron, like you're like close to Cleveland, which I love it there, so I'm pretty biased. But yeah, I just driving to Chicago one year and driving to Toledo was just like
Cleveland's a pretty awesome city.
yeah, Toledo was just sad sack central.
I mean, I'm glad that I live far enough from Cleveland that I'm not in all the city hubbub, but it is a pretty awesome city, and it's only 30 minutes away.
So this is a spot here when I was talking about image that could probably go either way. I think that Brad has basically won every single hand that he's been involved with.
Correct.
And this one might go 50-50 against 2 people with this type of board texture. If I was the pre-flop raiser, I may or may not c-bet here. I want to say that Joe was, so it got checked over to Brad, and Brad is just betting here, and he's going to take it down again, it looks like. And that's actually a pretty good, another very, very simple thing that you can notice that a lot of people don't think about is that if you're in Brad's spot and the guy in seat 4 raised and Chris in seat 7 called, right? The board comes out king, queen, deuce. Well, now the pre-flop raiser checks. It's unlikely that he's checking ace, king, aces, and then the guy to his left now checks.
Right.
It's very unlikely that that guy's checking a king. So now it almost gives you a pass to come out and just bet because the pre-flop raiser most likely doesn't have a king unless he's sandbagging something.
Right.
So it's just, it's different than if, say, the pre-flop raiser was like to my immediate right and I was on the button and the guy from up front checked. Well, we don't have any information about the guy from up front's hand because he's automatically going to check to the pre-flop raiser. But once the pre-flop raiser checks and then the guy to his left also checks and I'm in Brad's spot, that's going to give me the green light to bluff at it, basically.
Right. Would you say that's anything similar to how the hand went early with Pete, but he just happened to make the nut flush? Would you characterize those as similar hands, or do you think they're differing?
No, that's different because it's a 3-bet pot, and you mean like maybe you mean like if would Pete bluff at it with like Jack 10 of hearts there or something like
Right,
that?
like
Possibly. The only thing about that though is people play monotone boards really cautiously, so just because they check it over to if we were in Pete's spot doesn't mean that they don't have something, and you saw that with the pocket queens. They were just playing it slow. But on king, queen, deuce, it's different.
Call.
Looks like a king high flush draw here, and Zach's got king queen.
Yep.
I mean, that card's not going to slow me down if I'm Zach.
Right.
80's the bet.
You start thinking, you know, if you're Jesse, well, if I hit my king, is it good here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm thinking about the draw. You know, if a king comes and he checks to me, well, definitely need to value bet.
Oh, he's gonna take a different angle here. It looks
Look,
like
we've seen a lot of turn semi-bluff raises here, way more than I think actually go on in real life. What I mean is that like maybe some of these guys are kind of new to like playing on a table like this, and it's just ramped up a little bit tonight.
yeah. I mean, I would say all but 2 of them. I mean, I can't imagine
Yeah.
anyone else ever. You know.
I'm not exactly sure what Jesse thinks he's representing here. I mean, how does he have a 7? I guess he could have called with like 6, 7 or something like that. Obviously, he could have pocket 8s. If we're Zach, we block the fact that he's got queens plus, you know, the pre-flop action.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I look at it and I'm like, well, what is he bluffing with here? Like, is he raising the turn with diamonds? I so rarely see that at this level. He bets 230 here. You know, you're going to get about 3 to 1. You need to be good here 1 out of 4 times. You know, Jack 10 comes in.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting bet size by Jesse. I mean, it looks like for sheer value. So I think that's what Zach's trying to figure out. Like, did Jesse just raise turn on the come with like the possible Jack 10 or like some sort of weird diamonds?
It does look like value, although if I was going to make this play, if I was Jesse, I would probably either give up on the river or I would bet more, because I just think that betting more is going to get it done more often than this size to give a guy 3 to 1. I don't expect him to fold the queen after he called my turn raise. Again, it's going to be player dependent and all that stuff, but we've seen like at least 3 times now. Yeah, so you get the call. We see 3 times now where we've seen these turn semi-bluff raises. We haven't seen a turn semi-bluff check raise, but these guys like to just be raising in position on the turn. And no one's folded the hand yet, so.